Hi everyone, I want to talk to you a little bit about rest today and how we use it and why it's important in our somatic movement practice. So we all know that rest is really important for our health and well-being in a very sort of general sense. And that's fantastic to acknowledge that and hopefully bring a little bit more rest into our lives. But we also have periods of rest throughout our somatic movement practice, and we use it in a very specific, very focused sort of way. So for those who don't know, in somatic movement we use a technique called pandiculation to release the muscle tension that we habitually hold in our muscles. Okay? And pandiculation is a 3-step process. So step 1 is to consciously tighten some of the muscles. Step 2 is to slowly release them, keeping our awareness on what we sense. And then step 3, really importantly, is where we take a moment to rest. I'll post a video about pandiculation below if I remember, so you can kind of have a go at that and learn about it in a little bit more detail. But for this video, we're just going to be really talking about that step 3. So we have contract, release, and then we have rest. And I think when we first come to our somatic movement practice, and this was certainly the case for me, I didn't really get why it was important. I didn't really get that missing it out would be detrimental to my practice, you know? Because we live in a society where we are constantly bombarded with the message that if we get more done, if we do more, then it's better. So it's really tempting to approach somatic movement a bit like an exercise practice. Repetition, 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 which is fantastic if that's what you're doing. It's not what we're trying to do. What we are trying to do in somatic movement is less about the moving and more around the educating ourselves about how we move, where we hold muscle tension, how we can release what is habitually held, contracted in our individual soma, our living body as we experience it. And if we rush through, if we do the movements kind of habitually and without awareness, and if we miss out that rest stage, we really, really take away a massive part of the gift of learning to do these things slowly and to sense what's going on, that massive gift that gives us. So what happens in those moments of rest? We've done our sort of conscious, intentional contraction. We've done our slow release. We've noticed what we're sensing, what lets go as we release. And then we come to full rest. We let everything go. I like to say to myself, there's nothing else to do right now. Even if I know I'm going to do another repetition of the same movement, in that moment, I want to let go of everything that I can in my muscles. I don't want to be bracing for the next movement. I want to make sure I've let it all go. And in those moments, our brains get a chance to notice how that felt, to let that kind of soak in, to notice what's different, what has changed, how do the muscles feel now, how do I connect with the floor. So our brains really get a chance to take in what we've noticed and to learn and to integrate that learning. We know that brains are amazing and they are fantastic, and what they're really good at doing is sticking with the same thing, right? They are so brilliant at that they become a little bit slow at sort of taking in new things, right? About change. They like habit, and we need habit. Sometimes we want to get out of habits that aren't serving us. So we slowly introduce new things. In somatic movement, of course, that is the release of muscles. we bring the contraction, the release to our conscious awareness, bring it back under our conscious control, and we have to allow the brain a little bit of time to reflect and to sort of take it all in, soak it all in afterwards, so that we don't immediately just flip back to our old habits when we get up from the floor or wherever we're doing our practice. So that is why we have that step 3. It is completely its own kind of phase of the pandiculation. That's why we have step 3, those resting moments in somatic movement, that time for integration, for all the learnings to sink in, and honestly just to enjoy the feeling of the muscles having let go of some of what they've been holding on to for however many years we've been holding it, right? But the main thing is that learning, that integration. And then things can start to really shift and really change over the long term. So rest is powerful. We know that. We use it very specifically in our somatic movement practice, and that is why. So I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about that. Certainly did not come naturally to me at first. I'm going to invite you to bring in a few moments of rest between each of your somatic movements and see what that brings you. And I will see you in the next video.